we have the Dan's Diesel CP3 conversion kit, tuning required. At the same time you're doing a CP3 swap, since so much stuff has to come out, it's not a bad idea, if you don't already have one, to get an aftermarket downpipe. Makes sense. It's a good idea to put this on when that downpipe's out, just to help prevent future leaks in the. And then if you have the funds, get yourself a nice aftermarket intake manifold and piping, so that the whole engine will breathe better. John C. Garage is going to have some coolant flow assistance, some coolant hose kits that are going to help you out, and a couple other little things on his website. And we'll try to talk about this as I go through it. I'm really probably only going to talk about stuff as I put the new parts on, and not so much disassembly. There's been many videos made on this already. Just getting down to the CP3, that part you've probably already seen before if you're watching this. But I am just going to take this all off, and then once I start pulling out the Dan's Diesel parts and the new parts I'm going to put on, and then I'll really start filming that to show you what goes where. But so the coolant has to come out, has to get drained, right? So we're going to have to remove this fender and drain it, you know, right at that lower hose right there. Obviously all the air box and the top piece, the silver intake manifold, and that's what, so you can see what I'm starting with, and we'll do a end review at the end. So let's get it started. Batteries and coolant, batteries disconnected and coolant out first, and then start removing the top. So the kit from Dan's, it's supposed to come with everything you need for this install, so let's check it out. This is basically what that kit comes with. All right, carefully pop this clip out. It's sitting, you know, right in those grooves around that piece right there. And let your coolant drain. Make sure you don't mangle that clip or you'll be buying a new one. All right, this is where I'm at the end of the first night. I don't have a whole lot left to take apart. Everything downpipe wise, that coolant hose, I just chopped that off because that's going to be disconnected right below the downpipe. The clamp's loose. The EGT probe's already out. That one I cut, so it's just going to come out with the other one. This is what we're working with right now, and that's just from coolant leaks. My turbo has no play, so that's good. I want for the coolant undone. I have the John C kit. You know, that's going to connect from there, run it straight to there, and remove all of that. So that should clean up that side nicely, coolant hose wise. While this is apart, I'm going to rebuild my filter head. Well, maybe I am due for a new turbo soon. Look at that. I got chewed up veins. It ain't smooth in the front anymore. Look at that. Interesting. There's no play in it, but the veins look like they've been hitting rocks or something. Look at that. I did a boo-boo. I was trying to get this piece out. Actually, I was trying to get this out with this. This is the 9th injector because I'm doing a CP3 swap. Don't need that anymore. And problem is, this thing is part of your return line, right? It sits right here, and then it has this hose that runs through this thing and up over here where this sits about like so, and it bolts. That bracket kind of holds everything in place, but this bolts onto the 9th injector. So I accidentally cut both one side, and then I was in process to the other side. I'm pretty sure the kit just wants you to pull this back. All right, I'm gonna do that again. So see how I just pulled this back and then popped it off, right? And these kits come with a blocker. All right, it's right there. We're just gonna pop that in. I can go find some 1/8 inch fuel return hose and probably just make a connection, you know, from this thing right there, where when it's sitting in its place, that's just a rubber connection right in there to this thing. I could probably just cut that and run a straight hose all the way down to that first return right there. You know, all that. This was the bracket that it actually was, and that's the little plug that came off of it. If you're trying to keep this in place, and to be honest, I made more work for myself. Just pop this off and push this guy in. Yep. The alternative to doing that would be to run a single hose, I would think, right? 1/8 inch, and just run it all the way to that first one and forget the T, because the T is no longer needed. Someone correct me if I can't do that. I don't see why I couldn't, especially if this piece is now just blocked off. With that said, that's a lot more work. That's the predicament I'm in right now because I cut that. I wish I didn't. I wish I thought about that a little bit more, since there's obviously not a whole lot of videos on this portion of the install. Okay, so now I'm at the point where I have to get all these fuel line, intake manifold and all the fuel lines out of the way. Dang, I'm still kind of bummed about that return line. I blew that. Inexperience, first time, right? All right, guys, I just wanted to show this real quick. I'm still clearing out space for the pump itself to come out. This is the high pressure line. Once you undo all the mounting brackets, which are, there's one here that goes right into the pump. There's one here that goes up, up here somewhere. Oh, that mounted to the big thing that I have screwed in there. And then once you undo that bottom one down there, that gives it a bunch of play to move, or it's scooted over pretty easily and enough. So basically the feed line down there was crazy tight, and I didn't have the right crowfoot for it, because it's definitely a metric number. I don't know what size it is, but I got a 7/8 on this one crowfoot, and then I just used my rubber adjustable, and it's just resting up against here, and I hope that's not damaging anything, but I got nothing else to crank on it to secure it. And I just used what's this, 12 or 13 inch ratchet that I basically use as a breaker bar, and we used a 7/8, and I put this down here and I put it on there. I basically put most of my body weight on that to break that free. That's probably was the original factory connection and hasn't been touched, because that was a surprising amount of torque that needed. So the good news is, once that's out the way, that's clear. And then really the only thing that's kind of left in the way is this return hard line right here. But once we move that, I think we'll be able to scoot it up under there just enough to get the pump out, and that's what I'm hoping for. So that pipe's out the middle, so that's clearanced. This is clearanced, just by moving it. With that one undone, it all slides good enough. I don't think this one's gonna be in the way. That's why that front half is just, I just picked it up and leaned it off to the side, because right there's a rubber, so that flexes real easy. The only real thing is this return hard line. All right, so we undid this, it's loose here. I undid this one, it's loose there. And I undid the clamp up top by your lines. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, if I push this down right here and slide it under, kind of under the, it's supposed to sit like this. If I slide it under that, about right there, I'm hoping that'll clear. I'm hoping that's all it's gonna need to get out. I'm on to my next mission, is to get access to the bolts in the front. Right now I have the belt off, I have the top 2 brackets off, and I have this main hose off. I suppose I have this disconnected, the test port. I suppose I didn't need to, but I thought it was initially connected to this line, but it's not. There's 4 bolts at the front of the pump. All right, that's the little one. And there's another one down there. Next part of the video I won't show. It's going to be the front 4 bolts of the CP4, because that's where we're at right now. So this is the current status, and CP4 coming out next. All right, I just want to show people what I did to actually get to these. All right, so the first one up here is easy, straight back, nothing really difficult about that. The one right there that you can see, I had to unbolt the 2 down here, and I just pried this away, and then I was able to get something with the socket far enough back on there. Get that, just loosen it a little bit until I need to push it back in and tighten it. And then I would just push this back and retighten that. On this side, I took off the alternator bracket. It was these two. There's one on the side right here. So look under this on the side. I think that's it right there. But it was just connected to another bracket. And then there's 3 in the front. 2 of them are on a nut and a stud. Like this. And to get it out without removing the whole shroud, you have to take a 1/4 inch, and once the nut's off, pull the whole stud out. But that took, honestly, once the alternator's off, it does not take much time to pull that. And so I would recommend doing that if you don't want to disconnect this hose. But that allowed me to get a wrench right behind there, and I was able to get that out. Once again, I couldn't pull it out, but I could loosen it all the way off. And then I'm just gonna get those top 2 snug when I put this back on, and then the bottom 2 we're just gonna push back in and tighten it. We're gonna clean up all the fuel that spilled, clean up all the lines that I'm gonna be reusing. It's time to put the new CP3 in. So here is the new one versus the old one, CP4. The Bosch pump from Dan's right there. I bought this one last summer. So what I need to do is I need to pull these caps off and get the fittings that came in the kit over here. Right, 1, 2. Yeah, we're getting some stuff used up now. Here's gonna be these. And we're gonna need these 3 over here. We're gonna need this right here. So right now we're pretty much we're prepped, and we're gonna need this right here. And with all of this stuff right here, we should be able to get the new CP3 prepped for install. First things first. All right, the little one is the return. It goes right here. The big one is the supply. That goes right there. These are going to be the 3 that hold this onto the pump. Okay. You see 1, 2, 3. And then these are your O-rings to hold this right there. Is it going to be 1? And then this is the one that actually sits inside. Zip that off, pull this off, and then put this in the vise and press it on there. I believe it's about 75 foot-pounds. Don't quote me on that. About 75 foot-pounds, but make sure you check with what a CP3 needs. I think it's around there. And once this is back on, there's no timing needed to reinsert this CP3. Just set it back in and plug in, screw in your 4 holes. This thing's ready to go. And here's the orientation you need on that. Just make sure the 1 bolt that's vertical, that sticks out a little bit, there it is in relation to the top sensors and whatnot. It's kind of pointing right in the middle, pointing up basically. And so this is going to sit up in the truck, and that's how that goes. Just be careful you have it in the right direction, right? All right, this was my solution to get my the gear on. So I've got it torqued to the 75 foot-pounds. I just happened to use a vise on my table. Put a hammer underneath of it to kind of give support. Typically, it's definitely going to be easier if you've got another person that's holding the back end. It just so happened to work for me that my vise is right next to a table, and my hammer was roughly the right size to do that. So, as you can see, it doesn't go on all the way, but you hit that. Your torque wrench tells you when it's tight enough. And then I think this is ready to be put in the truck. All right, so I'm piecing this back together here. Due to the CP3 having an adapter, it pushes everything back a hair. To make this perfect, you need a different return line, hard line, and you need a different feed line. This is the original one that feeds, you know, from up there to down there, and then it connects to this one, and it runs to that. Because of the push out of the adapter plate, it does not fit. See, it won't even screw in its current position. It just there's not enough space. It hits this. So what I'm gonna have to do to make this work is I'm gonna have to undo all the lines and push it back just a hair to get the slide in, because I do believe it will fit once it's actually connected and fully screwed in. It'll be close, but once I screw it in, I can probably shove this back a little bit, just not much, but a little bit, and then we'll do what I did on the return here. See this return? I put hose here because it is hitting this. The metal will be hitting this. So I put some rubber hose on there to guard it, you know, and I'm gonna have to do the same on this one. All right, so I want to talk about this real quick. So I ended up stripping the threading on the inside out. My experience was I needed to order a new one of these because I stripped out this because I put it in an angle. My issue with this kit is that this issue right here is probably the same for all of them, is the factory lines touch. It pushes the pump back, and now everything kind of hits. So this line hits here, this line hits here. I mean, it's not terrible, but I don't have it snug yet either. You wonder if it'd be easier just to run these two lines straight and around, you know, like an L. This is the pipe from Dan's. The original one's even worse, and then the short little stubby one basically runs like right into that nipple. There's, you know, you're making a hose like yay long. I mean, just 2 inches long. It runs right into the back of that nipple, and it's also touching too. So we're gonna get this bolted down, and I hope I have some more clearance than I'm seeing here. I can't be the only one who come into this problem, so maybe it's not a problem. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. That's what I've been running into. I mean, it's bad enough where I'm like, did I install this right? Pulled off the cover to check, and I'm like, no. Sure looks like it's on there to me. All the way in, and everything bolted snug, and you can see there, it only pushed it back that, what, 1.5 inches, or not inch, 3/4 inch or whatever it is thick. And, but you see everything's hitting, so all this is hitting. It's actually disappointing because I did this for reliability, and now I'm like, dang, is this gonna be reliable if I drive it for like 100,000 miles? Is it eventually just gonna blow a hole in one of these lines? The steel combined with some rubber insulation will keep it for me for the rest of the time that I own the truck. But our high temp thread sealant from Permatex. And once I have this secure in place, then I'll stick my wrench down there and snug it up as best I can. Remember guys, if you're undoing this side does not move. Okay, so you need a wrench in here just to hold it, but don't turn it. You turn it on this one, and you turn it to the left to loosen it, right? This one is fixed, it does not move. So this is the OEM one it comes with. And the reason why I stay with the Dan's one, even though I have this one brand new, is because it's basically the same shape. It's not like it gives you any more clearance, but as you can see how it thins out on the bends right there. The Dan's one is curved nicer, where it doesn't thin out. It's like a mandrel bend on the Dan's one. So for that alone, it's worth swapping over to, because you'll get that, especially maybe not for me at stock power, but for if I ever needed to push big power, that'd be beneficial. If I push it off, and now it's not hitting, but I have a feeling once that bracket is pushed flat, it's going to. The kit came with this little adapter, and this is for the main fuel pressure regulator on the pump itself. All right, this is the temp plug, the plug from the CP4 that you gotta reuse. All right, so remember, yellow and purple go to the rail. You need, that one goes to, this one goes to the CP3, and then this one went to the plug, the brown. So you need to plug that in. According to Dan's, you can just drop this in the valley, tuck it down back there and kind of forget about it. I'm going to do a little bit nicer of an install. So this little kit from John C. Garage allows you to put it on this stud right here. Little plastic tab, screws in, take your brown to brown plug, pop it on here. Maybe that's backwards, there we go. And then I just snug this down, and that is in like a factory looking appearance type item. And then so purple to yellow to the rail, brown to brown to your CP4 temp sensor, and black and yellow out to the CP3 plug. One of the issues here I see is once you connect that, it's basically touching the feed pipe. To put this hose back right here, it's you know, this plastic's gonna be, there's gonna be an indent. It's probably better to take this out. And here's the weird thing, the clipped portion that you need to unclip it is on this side, not on this side. So that kind of makes it even more a pain. And what is that? That is the hard line right here. It doesn't come out difficultly, you know, it's just this bolt here and this one up here, 2 13s, and then you can remove it. But I mean, if you're ever trying to do this nicely in truck, that is probably not coming out for you, not without removing a fair bit of stuff. I'm going to try to keep it, and we'll see. I'm going to try to get that on there real quick, but as you can see, it's touching right now. So last thing I need is a brand new FPR to break, but I don't want to. I want to keep everything as stock as possible. You know, when you buy this stuff, you hope there's a little bit of engineering done where you can just clip everything back together just with the new parts. And unfortunately, with the aftermarket, that's not how it always works. Basically, you just got to leave that one unscrewed. So you push it to you get them, unscrew them both up there, right there, and the one that's right down there. Put it to where you want it, and then you just cinch her down up top as best you can. Remember, this standard piece up here holds it and kind of in place. So, and then your little piece right here is molded. So in theory, it shouldn't move much. The only real rubbing issue now is about right there. But now that that's tight down there, I can put back in all these pieces, screw those down. No, this is the hard line. So and this is the feed that goes from here to there. So I'm gonna have to move this kind of somewhere more over this way. Remember, there's a hose from here to here as well. So right now I'm in the position where I'm just buttoning this all back up. All right, guys, now we're at the part of the video where I need to start putting back together the center of kind of the center of the motor, so I can start throwing the wiring and everything back kind of over on top where it lays. So first up is going to be this main bridge, right, from WC Fab. I believe that little plug is going to go right there, and then that's going to be one of the sensors that I'll have to reattach, but it comes with the O-rings. We got to get this piece and the horn on, and then I'm going to start laying everything else back down. And then I think this coolant hose will be one of the last things we do before kind of really putting all the end pieces on. We're looking down and everything's tightened. I got this one little hose still left to go. That'll be quick and easy. Otherwise, I just got this mess of the AC and that bracket still down. But before I throw the AC over, I want pretty much everything to be done here in the middle. So let's get this in there. Front 2 accessories are back on. The fan shroud and the belt's back on. What I did, I still gotta put the one that runs the heater core on, but I'm gonna do that once everything's plugged up. This piece right here is gonna come off your other intake, and this whole harness kind of needs to nicely sit back here, kind of behind the AC for that to fit. What I did for this is I cut a little bit short so it's not sticking. It was going to be up like this. I cut the, I don't know, I cut the like 5 inches or 6 inches off just to make that a little bit shorter. so that fits a little bit nicer, a little bit lower. So doing all this, also there's going to be quite a few extra plugs. I'm just planning to zip tie them together and kind of coat the ends in dielectric grease and kind of just let them rest out there, right? There was one main wire coming from here that ran to the intake. Obviously I won't need that anymore, so I just removed it. I didn't cut it, I didn't tape it. It went connected to that one. Just real easy, just took it off. It was part of this big old 3-pack that kind of came together. I just undo it, move the one wire out, and you can tape these back together when you're done. Now would be the time if you're going to rebuild your filter head or do anything with your filter head. Now would definitely be the time. Remember, we got a plug for the coolant kit. We got to plug that right there. Where's our plug? This is right here. This little guy, you just plug it, tighten it, and you never worry about that again. This was the wire that I took off right there. All right, this is where I'm at right now. All right, so that Y bridge is in. Please note, I got the alternator on. I took out the filter housing for the moment. There are the 2 hoses that this is the main supply, and this is the return. This is the supply, the new hose that I just put on, and this is the main return back to the CP3. But we're gonna reseal that filter housing just to be sure it'll never give us a problem again. And don't forget that coolant block off right there for when you put in that hose that runs to the back. All right, while this was out, we took this apart, brake cleaned everything, and new seals. So hopefully we've got no leaks, no air leaks from this for a long time. Obviously with the Kennedy pump that I use, you got to have this to start it working. While this is off, apparently this part's being discontinued per their website, but I got that fuel filter head spacer just so it's easier to get the wrench on the back side. It'll give you that much more clearance, which is really all you need, but it is quite tight without it. So figured it was easier, give me a little bit to get that under there when I do a fuel filter in the future. We're gonna put on this hose now that the pipe and everything's on, or the intake is on. All right, so you need to take your 2 O-rings. You're gonna put them right in those grooves inside there, and then you see the clip on the outside. You're gonna shove this on, and then push your clip on over it. But this is pre-molded specifically for the Y bridge, which when you're doing the CP3 kit, now would be the time because you're right there. So this is what we're looking at now. This kit is gonna route under here, right? And then this elbow is gonna pop straight down there. I did it at the very end because I wasn't sure after all the wires were done and whatnot what would be the best hookup or best position for it, but it looks like just laying across the top is gonna be kind of what was anticipated anyway. See it back there, it's gonna reach the firewall, no problem, and slap down right there over everything. All right, so let me go get a hose clamp to work that. So that's in there. All right, and next up, right about there, we've got to reroute our hose. So this comes with this big old hose right here and one connector, and we are going to hook this one up. We're gonna hook this one up right about here, right? And then we'll have to figure out the best way to kind of make this go to you. All right, so here's the mirror. Just have it coming down. And on the outside of the frame, seems like the tie down points are better here. And it's gonna be pretty obvious if I start blowing crazy amounts of smoke. We are done. Other than fluids, I just got at the coolant pack. And I got my downpipe. That one's top one's connected. I gotta connect the bottom one, but I'm gonna wrap up this video. Everything's back connected. That's supposed to be. As you can see, it did clean up the kind of middle kind of nicely. There's more see things a little bit easier. We got an extra hose that was added over here for the like the blow by tube PCV hose, whatever it's called. But I just used the factory intake. Really should probably find another one because I don't have the ability to connect it anymore because the threads are stripped on those two. But I'm gonna leave this stock. I don't see a real need to go spend the money on aftermarket one, since I'm just running a toe tune and, you know, leaving it as is. But this is what I'm working with now moving forward, so I'm pretty happy about that. All right, guys, we are done. It is running. I'm hoping that coolant plug doesn't leak. I guess I'll find out the first time it warms up. Comes back down a few times. But I got the lift pump disconnected at the moment. All right, that's right where it should be. Coolant caps off. I dropped a little off to top that off. Sounds good. Looks good. It's just, like I said, it's a CP3. The pipes. And a 50 horse tune. It's pretty much my build was for a stock, you know, stock reliable truck, and that's all I did. I'm not trying to make big power. Our liner on there, and at this point it's nothing about assembly. It's probably just tuning at this point, and tuning in anything leaking, which is obviously going to be my fault if it's leaking. So all right, plug that in, and it's going up, so that's good. That's good. You got it right about 5 psi. It's a Kennedy pump. If I didn't already mention that, it sits about 6 psi, something like that, and it pretty much maintains it. Never really drops much and doesn't go much higher. Just holds it at 5. So, all right, I'm gonna top off the coolant, put the cap back on, go take it for a drive. All right, guys, first drive. Apparently. You need to use the full length hose that Dan sends in the kit, or make your own hose. I went to the dealership and bought one of those factory molded hoses, you know, that goes on the return. And yep, it just decided to, you know, completely just come off. Thankfully, I had made it all the way back home. And it happened in my driveway, because I noticed that I was leaking a little bit once I pulled in the driveway, and then it just unloaded. It's not going to be difficult to reach either, especially if I can get this harness out the way. But just wanted to show these nice return molded factory. This is a return like the molded original hose. It's just too short. You'll have to do something else. Well, it's not pretty, but I guess when you back up, it's not terrible. But just to give me some access in case I ever need to move this hose and the harness, I made it a little bit long. But that's gonna never leak on me and gives me plenty of wiggle room. And if I ever need to pull this off and chop 2 inches off of it and do it again, is long enough to do that. So that's gonna stay like that, running again. Hopefully that's the extent of my leaks.